One night, I received a call from my daughter. "Mom, please, I don't feel well. Come immediately." I ran to her house, but the one who opened the door was my grandson. The strange thing was that before letting me in, he whispered in my ear, "Don't believe anything she says. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and comment where you're watching from." The phone rang at 11:43 on a Tuesday night. I know the exact time because I was staring at the clock on my nightstand, willing myself to sleep, when the shrill sound cut through the darkness of my bedroom in Cedar Falls, Iowa. My heart seized before I even reached for it. "Mom." Anna's voice was thin, stretched tight like a wire about to snap. "Mom, please. I don't feel well. Come immediately." The line went dead. I was out of bed before I could think, my hands shaking as I pulled on the clothes I'd worn earlier that day. My daughter lived 20 minutes away in the newer development on the east side of town, in one of those modern houses with too much glass and not enough soul. 20 minutes that felt like 20 hours as I drove through empty streets, my headlights cutting through October fog that had rolled in from the river. Anna was 46 years old. She didn't call me in the middle of the night. She didn't say, "I don't feel well," like a frightened child. She was a researcher, controlled and precise, the kind of woman who scheduled her emotions between meetings. Something was terribly wrong. The house was blazing with light when I arrived, every window illuminated like a lighthouse warning ships away from rocks. I parked crookedly in the driveway and hurried to the front door, my breath visible in the cold air. Before I could knock, the door opened. It was my grandson, Nicholas. 16 years old, tall like his father, with his mother's serious eyes. But those eyes held something I'd never seen in them before. Fear, yes, but also a strange kind of warning. He glanced over his shoulder, then leaned close to me. His whisper was urgent, his breath warm against my ear. "Don't believe anything she says?" Then he stepped back, his face carefully neutral, and raised his voice. "Hi, Grandma. Mom's in the living room." I stood frozen on the threshold, Nicholas's words echoing in my mind. Don't believe anything she says. What did that mean? Was Anna having some kind of breakdown? Was this a mental health crisis? My mind raced through possibilities as I stepped inside, each one worse than the last. The living room looked like a bomb had gone off in an office. Papers covered every surface, the coffee table, the sofa, the floor. Folders lay open, their contents spilling out in chaotic fans. I glimpsed spreadsheets dense with numbers, graphs with colored lines tracking data I couldn't decipher, documents stamped with red letters that might have said, "Confidential." Anna sat in the middle of it all, her dark hair uncombed, still wearing what looked like yesterday's clothes. Her eyes were red-rimmed, and when she looked up at me, I saw the exhaustion carved into every line of her face. "Mom." She stood, swaying slightly. "I'm so glad you're here." My son-in-law, Marcus, stood near the fireplace, his back to us, staring at nothing. He was a tall man, usually composed, usually quick with a smile and a bad joke. Now his shoulders were rigid with tension, and he didn't turn around when I entered. "Anna, honey, what's wrong?" I moved toward her, my mother's instincts overriding everything else. "Are you sick? Should we go to the hospital?" "No, no hospital." She grabbed my hands, and hers were ice cold despite the warmth of the room. I needed you here. She trailed off, her eyes darting to Marcus, then to Nicholas, who had positioned himself near the doorway like a guard, or like someone ready to run. "Needed what?" I pressed gently. Before Anna could answer, Marcus finally turned around. His face was pale, his jaw tight. "Elizabeth, maybe you should go home. This isn't... Anna's just tired. We've been working long hours, and she's overwrought." "Overwrought?" The word came out sharp. "She called me at midnight saying she didn't feel well. I'm not leaving until I know what's happening." "Mom, please." Anna's grip on my hands tightened. "I can't explain everything, but I need you to trust me." Trust her. My grandson had just told me not to believe anything she said. The contradiction made my stomach turn. I pulled my hands free gently and looked around the room again. Really looked this time. The papers weren't random chaos. There was a system to them. piles organized by some logic I couldn't immediately grasp. Near Marcus's feet, I spotted a folder with a label I could read. Pediatric Trials, Phase 2. Anna was a medical researcher. She had been for 20 years, ever since she finished her doctorate. She worked for a private firm that contracted with pharmaceutical companies. But I'd never seen her bring this much work home. Never seen her this unraveled. "What are all these papers?" I asked, trying to keep my voice calm. "Work," Marcus said quickly. Too quickly. "Just work. At midnight? Spread all over your living room?" I moved closer to the coffee table, squinting at a spreadsheet. "Anna, what kind of project are you working on?" "I can't tell you." Her voice broke. "I wish I could, but I can't." Behind me, I heard Nicholas shift his weight. When I glanced back, he was staring at his mother with an expression I couldn't read. Anger, maybe. Or betrayal. Or both. The room felt like it was closing in. Every instinct I had, honed over 72 years of life, told me something was deeply wrong here. But I couldn't identify what. Was Anna in danger? Was the family in danger? Or was she the danger herself? Anna. I used the voice I'd used when she was 16 and had tried to lie to me about where she'd been on a Friday night. Firm, loving, but brooking no nonsense. "I drove over here in the middle of the night because you sounded terrified. Now you're telling me you can't explain why. That's not acceptable." She opened her mouth, closed it, looked at Marcus. He gave an almost imperceptible shake of his head. That small gesture told me everything and nothing. They were hiding something. Something they'd agreed to hide. But from me? From everyone? "Is this about money?" I asked. "Are you in financial trouble?" "No," Marcus said. "Legal trouble?" "No." "Then what?" My voice rose despite my best efforts. "What could possibly be so secret that you can't tell your own mother?" Anna's face crumpled. For a moment I thought she was going to cry, but instead she straightened her shoulders and looked me directly in the eye. "It's work, Mom. Important work. Work that could help people. But there are complications." "What kind of complications?" "The kind that means we can't talk about it." I turned to Nicholas, who had moved closer. "Do you know what's going on?" He hesitated, conflict plain on his young face. "I know some of it, but I don't think I know all of it." "What do you know?" "Nicholas." Anna's voice was sharp. "Don't. She's Grandma." Nicholas shot back. "She deserves to know." "Deserves to know what?" Marcus interrupted, his voice harder than I'd ever heard it. "Nicholas, enough. This doesn't concern her." The words hit me like a slap. "Doesn't concern me?" My daughter calls me in distress in the middle of the night, and it doesn't concern me. I looked at the three of them. Anna exhausted and frightened. Marcus defensive and tense. Nicholas angry and confused. A family fracturing around a secret. And I was the outsider they were trying to protect. Or exclude. "I'm not leaving," I said quietly. "Not until someone tells me the truth." Anna sank back onto the sofa, her head in her hands. "Mom, you don't understand. If I tell you I could lose everything. My job, my career, maybe worse." "Worse how?" She looked up at me, and in her eyes, I saw genuine fear. "There are people who don't want this research to succeed. People with money and power and no conscience. If they knew we were talking about it, even to family." She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't have to. My blood ran cold. This wasn't about burnout or stress. This was about something dangerous. Something that had my daughter terrified and my grandson warning me not to trust her. I pulled out my phone. "What are you doing?" Marcus stepped forward. "Calling the police." "No!" Anna was on her feet. "Mom, no, please. That's the last thing we need." "Then tell me what's happening." For a long moment, no one spoke. The clock on the mantel ticked loudly in the silence. Outside, a car drove past, its headlights briefly illuminating the fog. Finally, Nicholas spoke. "It's about the testing, Grandma. The clinical trials. Mom and Dad are doing something they're not supposed to be doing." "Nicholas!" Anna's voice was anguished. "She needs to know," he said stubbornly. "I only found out by accident, but once I did, I couldn't just pretend everything was normal." My mouth went dry. Clinical trials, medical research, something they weren't supposed to be doing. What kind of testing? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Anna looked at Marcus. He closed his eyes and gave a single defeated nod. It's a diagnostic technology, Anna said slowly, for detecting rare genetic diseases in children. Diseases that usually aren't caught until it's too late to treat them effectively. We've been developing it for 3 years. That sounds wonderful, I said, confused. Why would that be secret? Because the company I worked for, they wanted to patent it. Lock it down. Make it available only through private healthcare systems, only to people who could afford to pay. We're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars per test. Understanding began to dawn. And you don't want that. These are children, Mom. Children who will die if they're not diagnosed in time. And the technology, it's simple. It's cheap to produce. There's no reason it should cost that much except corporate greed. So, what did you do? She took a deep breath. We stole it. The research, the data, everything. We're going to release it publicly, make it open source so any hospital can use it. The room spun slightly. My daughter, my careful, law-abiding daughter, had stolen intellectual property, had become a thief, no matter how noble the cause. That's why I warned you, Nicholas said quietly. I didn't know if what they were doing was right or wrong. I still don't, but I knew it was dangerous. It is dangerous, Marcus said. The company is looking for us. They've hired investigators, lawyers. If they find out we took the research, but they can't prove it, Anna interrupted. Not yet. Everything's encrypted, scattered across different locations. But the stress, the secrecy, I couldn't take it anymore. I needed someone to know. I needed my mother. She looked at me with the same expression she'd had as a little girl when she'd confessed to breaking a neighbor's window. Guilt and defiance and desperate hope for understanding. I should have been angry. I should have lectured her about the law, about consequences, about the right way to fight corruption. But all I could think about was the children who would die waiting for a diagnosis they'd never receive. And then I looked down at the coffee table again, at a document I hadn't noticed before. It was partially hidden under a spreadsheet, but I could see enough. A name. A company name I recognized. Because I'd worked for them once, a lifetime ago before I retired. Before they fired me for refusing to falsify data that would have sent a dangerous drug to market. My blood turned to ice as the final piece clicked into place. This wasn't just Anna's fight. It had been mine first, and they knew it. Helix Biomedical, I said aloud, the name tasting like poison on my tongue. Anna's head snapped up. You know them? Know them? A bitter laugh escaped me. I worked for them for 15 years. Until they fired me in 2003 for refusing to sign off on corrupted trial data for a cholesterol medication that caused liver damage. The silence that followed was absolute. Even the clock seemed to stop ticking. You never told me that, Anna whispered. You said you retired early. You said you wanted to travel. I lied. The admission came easier than I expected. I was 50 years old, blacklisted in my field, and ashamed. So I told everyone I'd chosen to retire. Your father never knew the truth either. Marcus moved closer to the table, his expression shifting from defensive to calculating. Wait, you worked in their research division? Senior clinical researcher. I supervised phase 3 trials. I picked up the document with their logo, my hands steadier than I felt. I know how they operate. I know their lawyers, their tactics, their willingness to destroy anyone who threatens their profit margins. Then you understand, Anna said, something like hope creeping into her voice. You understand why we had to do this. I understand why you want to do this. But Anna, these people ruined my career with a few phone calls. What do you think they'll do when they discover you've stolen millions of dollars worth of proprietary research? We've been careful, Marcus insisted. Everything's encrypted. We've used secure servers, routed everything through. It won't matter. I cut him off, my voice sharp with the authority of experience. They have resources you can't imagine. Private investigators, forensic IT specialists, connections to law enforcement. Being careful isn't enough. Nicholas had been quiet, but now he spoke up. That's what I've been trying to tell them. This isn't some Robin Hood story. These are real people who could put Mom and Dad in prison. We're not going to prison, Anna said, but her voice lacked conviction. We haven't released anything yet. Technically, we could return everything, claim it was a mistake. Is that what you want? I asked. To give up? To let those children die because you're afraid? Her eyes flashed. Of course not. But I have a son to think about. A life, a home, a career, none of which will matter if you're in federal prison for corporate espionage. I moved around the table, gathering papers into stacks as I spoke. How much does Helix know? Nothing concrete, Marcus said. But they're suspicious. Anna's access privileges were revoked last week. They said it was routine security protocol, but it wasn't. I nodded, my mind already working through the implications. They're closing the circle. How many people worked on this project? 7, originally. But only Anna and I have the complete data set. Marcus ran a hand through his hair. The others don't even know the full scope of what we discovered. Good. That's good. I pulled out my phone. I need to make some calls. Mom, it's almost 1 a.m. I don't care. I was already scrolling through my contacts, looking for a name I hadn't called in decades. You need a lawyer, not a corporate lawyer, a whistleblower specialist, someone who's fought companies like Helix and won. We can't afford that kind of lawyer, Anna said quietly. I can. I found the name I was looking for, Patricia Mendez. We'd worked together briefly before my firing, and she'd gone on to become a fierce advocate for research ethics. I have money set aside. Your father's life insurance, investments, the sale of the farmhouse. I was saving it for emergencies. Mom, no. We can't take your money. You're not taking it. I'm investing it in something I believe in. I hit the call button, knowing Patricia probably wouldn't answer at this hour, but needing to try anyway. I spent 22 years watching Helix and companies like them put profits over patients. If there's a chance to stop them, I'm taking it. The call went to voicemail. I left a brief message, asking Patricia to call me urgently regarding Helix Biomedical, then hung up. There's something else, Nicholas said hesitantly. Something I haven't told you guys yet. We all turned to look at him. His face had gone pale, and he was gripping his phone like a lifeline. What is it? Anna asked, fear creeping back into her voice. A man came by the school yesterday, during lunch. He said he was doing a survey about college plans, asked me questions about our family, what my parents did for work. Nicholas's voice shook. I didn't think anything of it at the time. But now, Marcus swore under his breath. They're investigating the family, building a profile. Did he give you his name? I asked, already knowing the answer would be false. John Mitchell. He had a badge and everything, said he was from the state education department. Nicholas looked miserable. I told him about Mom's research job. I didn't know I shouldn't. It's not your fault, Anna said quickly, moving to hug him. You couldn't have known. But I could see the guilt etched on his face, the sudden understanding that he'd been manipulated. 16 years old, and already learning how cruel the adult world could be. We need to move the data, Marcus said. Tonight. If they're surveilling the family, they might already have people watching the house. Where will you move it to? I asked. He and Anna exchanged glances. We have a backup location, a storage facility across the river, but getting there without being followed, I'll do it. The words came out before I'd fully formed the thought. I'll transport it. Mom, you can't. I can and I will. They're not watching me. They don't know I'm involved yet. I looked at the mountains of paper surrounding us. How much of this is digital versus physical? Most of it's digital, backed up on encrypted drives. The papers are mostly notes, preliminary analyses. Anna gestured helplessly at the chaos. We printed everything out because we were paranoid about remote access. Smart. But now we need to be smarter. I checked my watch. 1:15 in the morning. Here's what we're going to do. Marcus, you're going to pack the encrypted drives and any essential documents into a bag I can carry. Nothing too obvious. Make it look like I'm taking home some old photo albums or books. And then what? He asked. Then I'm going to walk out of here like a grandmother who came to comfort her daughter and is now going home. If anyone's watching, they'll see exactly what they expect to see. An old woman who's no threat to anyone. Where will you take it? Anna's voice was small. To my house. No one's watching me. Yet, I pulled out my car keys. Tomorrow, we'll figure out the next steps. But right now, we need to secure the evidence before they can seize it. Nicholas spoke up again. There's one more thing. When that man came to my school, he asked me specifically if my grandmother lived nearby. He asked about you. The room went cold. He asked about me by name? No. He just asked if I had grandparents in the area, how close we were, if you visited often. Nicholas's eyes were wide. I said you lived in Cedar Falls and came over for Sunday dinners. Was that wrong? I felt the walls closing in. They already knew about me. Somehow, they'd connected me to Anna, had started building a web that included the entire family. When exactly did this conversation happen? I asked, keeping my voice level. Yesterday, around noon. And Anna had called me 12 hours later, saying she didn't feel well. Had they spooked her? Threatened her? Or had she simply reached her breaking point? We need to assume they know everything, I said. My connection to Anna, my history with Helix, the fact that I was fired. They're probably already planning how to use me against you. Then we're finished, Anna said hollowly. If they know you're involved, they'll paint this as revenge. A bitter ex-employee and her daughter conspiring to destroy the company. That's exactly what they'll do, I agreed. Which is why we need to get ahead of the narrative. Marcus frowned. How? By going public first. By making this about the children who will die without this technology, not about corporate espionage or revenge. I was thinking out loud now, pieces clicking together. But we need time. Time to organize, to build a case, to find allies. We don't have time, Anna said. If they revoked my access, that means they're close to moving against us. She was right. We were working on their timeline now, reacting instead of acting. I hated it. My phone buzzed. A text message from a number I didn't recognize. Mrs. Barrett, we need to talk about your daughter's recent activities. Tomorrow, 10 a.m., Milton Park. Come alone. I showed the message to the others. Anna's face went white. It's a trap, Marcus said immediately. Don't go. I have to go. I deleted the message, my hands trembling slightly. If I don't, they'll know we're on to them. Mom, please. Anna, listen to me. I gripped her shoulders. I spent 20 years being afraid of these people. 20 years regretting that I didn't fight harder, didn't make more noise, didn't risk more. I won't make that mistake again. But what if they... She couldn't finish the sentence. What if they what? Threaten me? Intimidate me? I'm 72 years old. I've buried a husband, survived cancer, and watched my country elect presidents I despised. I'm not afraid of corporate lawyers. I said it with more confidence than I felt. Besides, this might give us information about what they know, what they're planning. Or it might give them information about us, Nicholas pointed out. Then we make sure I don't have any information to give. I looked at Marcus. Pack that bag. Make it look innocuous. I'm taking it tonight, and tomorrow morning, I'm meeting whoever sent this message. And if they search your house? He asked. They won't find anything. I know places in that old farmhouse that even Anna doesn't know about. I managed a grim smile. My father was a moonshiner during Prohibition. That house has more hiding places than a spy novel. Anna was crying now, silent tears streaming down her face. I never wanted to drag you into this. You didn't drag me. I jumped. I pulled her into a hug. Now let's get this evidence somewhere safe before our mysterious friend decides midnight is a good time for a visit. Marcus was already moving, gathering drives and documents, sorting them with the efficiency of a man used to working under pressure. Nicholas helped, his young face set with determination. I watched my family work together, united by necessity and fear, and something that might have been hope. 22 years ago, I'd stood alone against Helix and lost. But I wasn't alone anymore. And this time, I had no intention of losing. As Marcus handed me a canvas bag filled with what looked like old novels but contained the future of pediatric medicine, my phone buzzed again. Another message from the same unknown number. We know about Cedar Falls, Elizabeth. We know about 2003. Don't make the same mistake twice. I pocketed the phone without showing anyone the message. Some threats, I decided, were better kept to myself. I didn't sleep that night. How could I? The canvas bag sat in my father's old hiding spot, a false panel behind the water heater in the basement, while I sat at my kitchen table, watching the street through the window. Every car that passed made my heart race. Every shadow seemed suspicious. At 6 in the morning, I finally gave up the pretense and made coffee. Strong, black, the way my husband used to drink it, the way I needed it now. By 9:30, I was in my car, driving toward Milton Park. The October morning was cold and bright, leaves swirling across the road in small tornadoes of red and gold. It should have been beautiful. Instead, it felt like driving toward an execution. The park was nearly empty on a Wednesday morning. A few joggers, a woman walking her dog, a maintenance worker emptying trash cans. I parked in the lot and walked to the bench near the pond, the one the text message had specified. I didn't have to wait long. He was younger than I expected, maybe 40, with the kind of expensive suit that said corporate money and the kind of smile that said lawyer. He sat down beside me without preamble, crossing his legs casually as if we were old friends meeting for a chat. "Mrs. Barrett, thank you for coming. I don't believe I had much choice." I kept my voice steady. "Who are you?" "David Rivera. I'm legal counsel for Helix Biomedical." He pulled out a business card, offered it to me. I didn't take it. "I think you know why I wanted to speak with you. Enlighten me. Your daughter has taken something that doesn't belong to her. Something very valuable." His tone was conversational, almost friendly. "We'd like it back." "I don't know what you're talking about." "Mrs. Barrett, Elizabeth. May I call you Elizabeth?" He didn't wait for an answer. "I've read your file. I know about your history with Helix. I know about the Lipidex trial in 2003, about the findings you refused to certify. Then you know I was right. That medication caused hepatic failure in 14 patients before it was finally pulled from the market, after costing the company $2 billion in lawsuits and settlements." "Yes, I'm aware." His smile never wavered. "The company has a long memory, Elizabeth, particularly for employees who cause that kind of damage. I saved lives. You destroyed careers, including your own." He leaned back, watching me. "Now your daughter is following in your footsteps. Noble, perhaps, but ultimately futile. And this time, the consequences will be much worse. Is that a threat?" "It's a fact." He pulled out a tablet, tapped the screen a few times, then turned it toward me. "This is your daughter's employment contract. Section 14, Paragraph C. Any research conducted using company resources becomes company property. Any attempt to remove or reproduce that research constitutes theft of intellectual property. Federal charges, Elizabeth. We're talking about years in prison, not just a ruined career." I looked at the contract, my stomach sinking. I'd seen contracts like this before. They were ironclad. "Now," Rivera continued, "we're prepared to be reasonable. If the research is returned within 48 hours, intact and complete, we'll accept your daughter's resignation and consider the matter closed. No charges, no lawsuits, no permanent record. And the research? What happens to it? That's not your concern. It is if it means children die waiting for a diagnosis." His expression hardened slightly. "The research will be developed according to proper protocols. It will eventually reach the market. At what cost? $100,000 per test? 200,000? I leaned forward. "How many families can afford that, Mr. Rivera? How many children will die in the meantime? These are complex economic realities. These are children's lives. And your daughter's freedom." He put the tablet away. "Those are the stakes, Elizabeth. Her liberty versus corporate property rights. I know which one I'd choose." For a moment, I considered it. Considered telling Anna to give everything back, to walk away, to save herself. It would be the smart thing, the safe thing, but I'd already played it safe once. And I'd regretted it for 22 years. "I'll discuss it with her," I said carefully. "You have 48 hours. He stood, buttoning his jacket. "After that, we'll be forced to take more aggressive action. And Elizabeth, we know about your visit last night. We know you left with something. I'd advise you to include that in what gets returned." He walked away before I could respond. leaving me alone on the bench with my heart pounding and my hands shaking. They'd been watching. They'd seen me take the bag, which meant they might already be at my house, searching for it. I drove home faster than I should have, running 2 yellow lights and barely noticing the speed. But when I pulled into my driveway, everything looked normal. No cars I didn't recognize, no signs of intrusion. I went inside anyway, checked the basement. The panel was still in place, undisturbed. The bag was still there. My phone rang. Anna. Mom, are you okay? Did you meet with them? I'm fine. But we need to talk. Not on the phone. They might be listening. Can you come here? I'm already on my way. I'll be there in 10 minutes. I used those 10 minutes to make more coffee and think. Rivera had been smooth, professional, almost sympathetic. But underneath the polished exterior, the threat had been clear. Surrender or be destroyed. 48 hours. 2 days to decide whether to save my daughter's freedom or save countless children's lives. It wasn't enough time. Anna arrived exactly when she said she would, parking behind my car and hurrying up the front walk. She looked worse than she had last night. Exhausted, frightened, barely holding herself together. Tell me everything, she said as soon as she was inside. I did. I described Rivera, his offer, his threats. I watched her face crumble as I spoke. 48 hours, she repeated when I finished. That's not enough time to release the research properly. We'd need to verify everything, find the right platforms, make sure it can't be corrupted or taken down. How long would you need? A week, maybe 2 if we want to do it right. She sank into a chair. We don't have that kind of time. Then we need to buy some. I poured her coffee she didn't drink. What if we gave them something? Not everything, but enough to make them think we're cooperating. They'd know. The data set is complete. If anything's missing, they'll know immediately. She rubbed her eyes. Besides, we can't give them anything. Once they have it, they'll lock it down so tight we'll never get access again. Then we need another strategy. Before she could respond, my doorbell rang. We both froze. Are you expecting anyone? Anna whispered. I shook my head and moved to the window, peering out carefully. A woman stood on my porch, middle-aged, professional-looking, holding a briefcase. I don't know her, I said. Anna came to look. Her face went pale. Oh, God. Mom? That's Jennifer. Jennifer Patel. She was on the research team. I thought only you and Marcus had the complete data. She doesn't, but she knows enough to be dangerous. Anna backed away from the window. If Helix sent her? The doorbell rang again, more insistently. I made a decision. Stay in the kitchen. Don't come out unless I call you. Mom? Go. I waited until Anna disappeared into the kitchen before opening the door. Jennifer Patel smiled at me, but it didn't reach her eyes. Mrs. Barrett? I'm Jennifer Patel. I worked, with your daughter at Helix. I know who you are. I didn't invite her in. What do you want? I need to speak with Anna. It's urgent. She's not here. Her car is in your driveway. Damn. I'd forgotten about that. She left it here and took mine. I lied. Car trouble. Now, if you'll excuse me, please. Jennifer's composure cracked slightly. I know she's in there. I know you both think I'm working for Helix, but I'm not. I'm trying to help. Why should I believe you? Because 3 hours ago they raided my house. They took my computer, my files, everything. They think I'm part of this, that I helped Anna steal the research. She pulled out her phone, showed me photos of her home office in disarray, drawers pulled out, papers scattered. I need to know what's going on. I need to know how to protect myself. I studied her face, looking for deception. All I saw was fear. Anna, I called. You should come hear this. My daughter emerged from the kitchen, wary. Jennifer, they came to my house, Anna. They're treating me like a criminal. What the hell is happening? You didn't know? Anna sounded skeptical. About any of it? Know what? That you stole company research? No. I didn't know that until this morning when federal agents showed up at my door with a warrant. Jennifer's voice rose. I thought we were just working on a project. A good project that would help children. When did it become corporate espionage? When Helix decided to lock the technology behind a paywall that would let thousands of children die. Anna shot back. When they made it clear they cared more about profit than patience. So you stole it? You just took it? Jennifer looked between us, disbelieving. Do you have any idea what you've done? What you've done to all of us? The entire team is being investigated now. 7 people whose lives are being turned upside down because you decided to play hero. The accusation hung in the air like poison gas. I didn't mean... Anna started. You didn't think, Jennifer interrupted. You didn't think about anyone but yourself and your moral crusade. She turned to me. You're her mother. Tell her to give it back. Tell her to fix this before we all end up in prison. I can't do that, I said quietly. Why not? Because she's right. Because children's lives matter more than corporate profits or career safety. I met Jennifer's eyes. I'm sorry you got caught up in this. But if you came here hoping we'd surrender, you're going to be disappointed. Jennifer stared at me, then at Anna, then back at me. Something in her expression shifted, from anger to calculation. You're serious. You're actually going to fight them. We don't have a choice, Anna said. Of course you have a choice. Give it back, accept the consequences, move on. Jennifer paced the small entryway. But that's not what you want, is it? You want to be martyrs. You want to burn everything down and call it justice. We want to save lives, I said firmly. By ruining them? Jennifer's laugh was bitter. You know what Helix will do? They'll destroy you. They'll destroy everyone connected to this research. They'll make sure none of us ever work in medical research again. And the technology? They'll bury it. They'll shelve it for years out of spite just to prove a point. The words hit like physical blows because I knew she was right. I'd seen Helix do exactly that before. Kill promising research rather than let it escape their control. Unless we release it first, Anna said quietly. Unless we make it public before they can stop us. Jennifer went very still. You're planning to leak it. We're planning to save lives. You're planning to commit career suicide. But Jennifer's tone had changed, become less accusatory and more thoughtful. When? Soon, I said, intentionally vague. How soon? Because I'm being deposed tomorrow by Helix's lawyers. And if they ask me whether I know anything about your plans, I'm legally obligated to tell the truth. Anna and I exchanged glances. We couldn't trust Jennifer, not completely, but we also couldn't afford to make an enemy of her. What do you want? Anna asked. I want to not go to prison. I want to not have my life destroyed because I happened to work on the wrong project. Jennifer's voice cracked. I want to wake up from this nightmare. Then help us, I said impulsively. Help us release the research properly, in a way that protects everyone. Mom, Anna started. No, hear me out. Jennifer knows the research. She knows the medical community. She could help us verify everything, make sure we're not missing anything critical. I looked at Jennifer. You said you thought this was a good project, that it would help children. Help us make sure it does. Jennifer was silent for a long moment. I could see the war playing out behind her eyes. Self-preservation versus conscience. Safety versus principle. If I help you, she finally said, I'm burning every bridge I have. I'm ending my career. Maybe, I acknowledged. Or maybe you're starting a new one, as someone who put patients first, or as a criminal. She laughed shakily. God, I can't believe I'm even considering this. You're considering it because you know it's right, Anna said softly. Because you know what Helix will do with this technology if we don't stop them. Jennifer closed her eyes, took a deep breath, then opened them again. When she spoke, her voice was steady. 48 hours, you said? That's all the time we have? That's all the time they gave us, I confirmed. Then we'll need help. More help than just the 3 of us. She pulled out her phone. I know someone who's fought Helix before and won. But she's expensive, and she's going to want to know everything. Who? Anna asked. Jennifer smiled grimly. Patricia Mendez, the attorney who specializes in corporate whistleblower cases. I felt the pieces click into place. I left her a message last night. She'll have gotten it. And knowing Patricia, she's already started investigating. Jennifer started typing on her phone. I'm telling her we need an emergency meeting. Today, now if possible. As I watched Jennifer type, Anna gripped my hand. "Do you trust her?" she whispered. I thought about it, about Jennifer's anger, her fear, her calculation, about the way she'd shifted from accusation to collaboration. "I don't know," I whispered back, "but we don't have time to be careful anymore." Jennifer hit send, then looked up at us with an expression that might have been hope or might have been terror. "She says she can be here in 2 hours. She's bringing her paralegal and her IT specialist." Jennifer pocketed her phone. "We're really doing this. We're really going to fight Helix Biomedical." "Yes," I said, with more confidence than I felt. "We really are." My phone buzzed with a new message from the unknown number. "Your daughter has made a mistake. She's contacted Jennifer Patel. Now we have to take more aggressive measures. The offer is withdrawn. Lawyers will be at your house in 1 hour with a search warrant." I showed it to Anna and Jennifer. Their faces went white. "1 hour," Jennifer said. "We have 1 hour before they find the research. Then we'd better work fast," I said, already heading for the basement. The war had begun. "We need to move the research. Now." I was already in the basement, pulling the false panel away from the wall. My hands shook, but my mind was clear. 58 minutes until the lawyers arrived. 58 minutes to save everything we'd worked for. Anna and Jennifer followed me down the stairs. In the dim light, I could see the fear on both their faces. "Where will we take it?" Anna asked as I retrieved the canvas bag. "If they're watching the house, they'll follow us wherever we go." "Not if we split up." Jennifer was already thinking ahead. "We divide the drives, take different routes. They can't follow all 3 of us." "Yes, they can," I said grimly. "They have resources we don't. Multiple investigators, GPS tracking, probably surveillance on all our vehicles by now." I handed the bag to Anna. "We need to get this out of here in a way they won't expect." "How?" Jennifer demanded. "We have less than an hour?" The doorbell rang. We all froze, staring at each other in the basement shadows. Had they come early? Had the text been a lie, designed to flush us out? "Stay here," I whispered, then climbed the stairs as quietly as I could. Through the front window, I could see a familiar car in the driveway. Not a corporate vehicle, not a police car. Patricia Mendez. I opened the door, and the woman I hadn't seen in over 2 decades stood there. Older, but still radiating the same fierce intelligence I remembered. Her silver hair was cut short, her suit was impeccable, and her eyes missed nothing. "Elizabeth Barrett," she said. "You look exactly the same." "You're a terrible liar," I replied, but I was smiling as I ushered her inside. "You said 2 hours." Jennifer's message indicated this was urgent. I was already in Iowa City for another case. She glanced around the small living room. "Where are they?" "Basement. We have—" I checked my watch. 54 minutes before Helix arrives with a search warrant. Patricia's expression didn't change, but I saw the calculation behind her eyes. "Then we need to work efficiently. May I?" I led her to the basement. Anna and Jennifer looked up, surprised. "Patricia Mendez," the attorney introduced herself. "I understand you've stolen corporate property and are about to be raided by federal investigators." "That's one way to put it," Anna said weakly. "It's the accurate way to put it, which means we have very limited options." Patricia set her briefcase on my father's old workbench. "First question. Is the research complete and functional?" "Yes," Jennifer answered. "The diagnostic algorithm works. We've run it through multiple validation tests. It can detect genetic markers for 12 rare pediatric diseases with 97% accuracy. And it's truly revolutionary? It could save thousands of lives," Anna said firmly. "Children who would die without early intervention." Patricia nodded. "Second question. Can Helix prove you took it?" "They'll be able to once they search our homes and find evidence of remote access, file transfers, encrypted communications." Jennifer's voice was bitter. "We were careful, but not careful enough." "Third question. Do any of you want to go to prison?" The silence that followed was answer enough. "Then here's what we're going to do." Patricia opened her briefcase and pulled out a laptop. "We're going to preempt their search by releasing the research first. Not secretly, not anonymously. Publicly, with full attribution and a clear statement of purpose." "That's suicide," Jennifer breathed. "They'll arrest us immediately. They'll try, But if we do this correctly, we'll have public opinion on our side. Media attention, scientific community support. Patricia was already typing. We're going to turn you from thieves into whistleblowers. How? I asked. By telling the truth. By documenting Helix's plans to monetize life-saving technology at the expense of dying children. By showing that you acted in the public interest, not for personal gain. She looked up at us. But I need everything. The research data, yes, but also proof of Helix's intentions. Emails, memos, financial projections showing their pricing strategy. Anything that demonstrates they prioritized profit over patients. Anna and Jennifer exchanged glances. We have that, Anna said slowly. Internal communications about projected revenue, marketing strategies targeting wealthy clients, discussions about patent exclusivity. That's not part of the research we took, Jennifer added. That's just information we had access to as employees. Even better, it establishes pattern and motive. Patricia's fingers flew across the keyboard. I'm creating a press package. We'll release it to major news outlets, medical journals, and public health organizations simultaneously. By the time Helix's lawyers arrive, the cat will already be out of the bag. They'll still arrest us, I said. Probably. But they'll be arresting people who just saved thousands of children's lives. The optics will be terrible for them. Patricia smiled thinly. Helix has gotten away with prioritizing profits for decades because they operate in the shadows. We're about to drag them into the light. My phone buzzed. Another message from the unknown number. We know Mendez is there. This doesn't change anything. You have 47 minutes. I showed it to Patricia. She barely glanced at it. Good. Let them know I'm here. Let them know I'm on record as your attorney. She turned to Anna and Jennifer. Upload everything to this secure server. The research, the internal communications, everything. They hesitated. Once we do this, Anna said, there's no going back. Our careers are over. Our lives as we knew them are over. Your careers at Helix are over, Patricia corrected. But you'll have something more valuable. Integrity. A clear conscience. The knowledge that you did the right thing. She paused. And possibly, if we play this correctly, immunity from prosecution in exchange for testimony about Helix's business practices. That's possible? Jennifer sounded hopeful for the first time. I've negotiated it before, but we need leverage, which means we need to move fast. Patricia glanced at her watch. 45 minutes. Upload. Now. Anna pulled the encrypted drives from the canvas bag. Jennifer opened her laptop, creating a connection to Patricia's secure server. I watched the progress bars creep across the screen, each percentage point feeling like an eternity. 30%, 40%, 50%. My phone rang. Not a text this time. An actual call from the unknown number. I answered, putting it on speaker. Mrs. Barrett. It was David Rivera's voice, but the professional friendliness was gone. I'm disappointed. I thought we had an understanding. We did. You gave us 48 hours. By my count, we still have 47 hours and 42 minutes. Don't play games. We know what you're doing. We know Mendez is there. His voice hardened. If you release that research, you'll be crossing a line you can't uncross. We crossed that line when we decided children's lives matter more than your profits. I said calmly. You're making a mistake. All of you. Helix has resources you can't imagine. We will destroy your daughter's career, your legal representation, your reputation. We will make an example of you that ensures no one ever tries this again. Then I guess we'll be in good company, I replied. With all the other people who stood up to corporate greed and paid the price. This isn't about greed. Of course it is. You're planning to charge hundreds of thousands of dollars for a diagnostic test that costs less than $1,000 to perform. You're going to let children die because their parents can't afford your pricing. That's the definition of greed. 70% uploaded. We have legal rights to that research, Rivera said. Rights that will be upheld in court. Maybe. But by the time you get through the courts, the research will be public domain. Free to any hospital, any researcher, any parent who needs it. I kept my voice steady despite my racing heart. You can sue us for damages, Mr. Rivera. But you can't unrelease information once it's public. We can make you wish you'd never been born. I'm 72 years old. I've already lived a full life. Can you say the same about the children you're willing to let die? The line went dead. 85%. That was risky, Patricia said quietly. You just admitted knowledge and intent. He was recording the call, I said. I assumed. So I wanted it on record why we're doing this. Good instinct. She nodded approvingly. But now they know exactly how long we need. They'll try to stop the upload. As if on cue, Anna's laptop screen flickered. They're attacking the connection, Jennifer said urgently. They're trying to shut down the upload remotely. 92%. Can they? I asked. Not easily. Patricia's server has serious security. But if they have government resources, if they can get a court order to shut down internet service to this address, they'd need at least 30 minutes for that, Patricia said. Keep uploading. 95%. The doorbell rang again. I looked at my watch. Still 35 minutes until the stated deadline. They're early, Anna whispered. Or they're bluffing, Patricia said. Don't answer it. The doorbell rang again, more insistently. Then someone started pounding on the door. Elizabeth Barrett, this is the Cedar Falls Police Department. We have a warrant to search these premises. Open the door immediately. My blood went cold. Police. Not just Helix lawyers. Actual law enforcement. How did they get a warrant this fast? Jennifer asked. They probably had it ready and moved up the timeline when they realized what we were doing. Patricia was remarkably calm. Elizabeth, you need to answer the door. If you don't, they'll break it down, and that gives them justification for additional charges. 98%. Just a moment, I called out, then looked at Patricia. What do I do? You let them in. You're polite and cooperative. You don't volunteer information, and you don't consent to anything beyond what's specified in the warrant. She stood, straightening her suit. And you let me do the talking. 99%. Mrs. Barrett, open this door now, or we're coming in. 100%. Upload complete. Anna closed her laptop. Jennifer exhaled shakily. Patricia allowed herself a small smile. It's done, she said. The research is now on servers in 3 different countries, with copies automatically distributing to medical journals and news outlets. Helix can't stop it now. But they can still arrest us, I said. Yes, they can. She picked up her briefcase. Shall we? I climbed the stairs, Anna and Jennifer behind me, Patricia bringing up the rear. Through the front door window, I could see 3 police officers, all looking impatient. Behind them, I spotted David Rivera standing next to a black SUV. I opened the door. I'm Elizabeth Barrett. How can I help you, officers? The lead officer, a middle-aged man with tired eyes, held up a document. We have a warrant to search these premises for stolen intellectual property belonging to Helix Biomedical Corporation. Step aside, please. May I see the warrant? Patricia stepped forward. I'm Patricia Mendez, attorney for Mrs. Barrett and her associates. The officer handed it over. Patricia scanned it quickly, her expression unreadable. This warrant is overly broad, she said. It authorizes seizure of any electronic devices, documents, or materials that may contain proprietary information. That could include personal items, privileged communications. It's a valid warrant signed by Judge Morrison. The officer interrupted. We're coming in. Then come in, Patricia said smoothly. But know that everything you find has already been documented and copied. You're conducting a search of an empty barn after the horses have left. The officer frowned. What's that supposed to mean? It means, Patricia said, pulling out her phone and showing him a screen, that 20 minutes ago, the research you're looking for was released to the public. It's currently being downloaded by researchers at Johns Hopkins, Cleveland Clinic, and Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, among others. There's nothing here to seize. The officer looked at Rivera, who had stepped onto the porch. The lawyer's face was white with fury. Search anyway, Rivera ordered. They may have retained copies, additional materials. You mean you want to intimidate them? Patricia cut in. You want to ransack an elderly woman's home as punishment for doing the right thing. I want to exercise our legal rights, Rivera said coldly. Then exercise them. Search the house. You won't find anything except evidence of how desperate Helix is to protect their profit margins. Patricia turned to me. Elizabeth, you and your daughter and Ms. Patel should step outside while they conduct their search. I'll supervise to ensure they don't exceed the warrant's scope. I'm not leaving my home, I said firmly. Mom? Anna started. No, this is my house. They can search it, but I'm staying. I looked at the lead officer. Do what you need to do, officer, but I'm not going anywhere. He sighed, clearly uncomfortable with the entire situation. Fine, but stay out of our way. They came in like a swarm, officers, technicians, someone with a camera documenting everything. They went through my living room, my kitchen, my bedroom. They opened drawers, looked under furniture, examined every book on my shelves. And they found nothing, because the research was gone, distributed across the internet, impossible to recall, free for anyone who needed it. I stood in my living room and watched them search, and for the first time in 22 years, I felt something like peace. An hour later, they left, empty-handed, frustrated. David Rivera was the last to go, pausing at my door. This isn't over, he said quietly. We'll file criminal charges, civil suits. We'll tie you up in court for years. We'll take everything you have. Then take it, I replied. But you can't take back what we've done. Children are being saved right now because of that research. And that's worth whatever price we have to pay. He left without another word. Patricia closed the door behind him, then turned to us with an expression I couldn't quite read. Now comes the hard part, she said. What could be harder than what we just did? Anna asked. Surviving what comes next. Patricia pulled out her phone, which was buzzing with notifications. The story's breaking. CNN, New York Times, Washington Post, they're all picking it up. Researchers release stolen medical technology to save children's lives. The pressure on Helix is already building. But we still broke the law, Jennifer said quietly. Yes, you did. Patricia looked at each of us in turn. And now we need to make sure you don't go to prison for it. My phone buzzed. Not the unknown number this time. Nicholas, my grandson. Grandma, I'm seeing news stories about Mom. Is she okay? Are you okay? I texted back quickly. We're fine. I'll explain everything soon. I love you. There's something else, Patricia said, her tone shifting. Something I discovered while I was investigating Helix's background. She pulled up something on her tablet. The company has a history of suppressing research that doesn't fit their business model. Over the past 15 years, at least 8 promising treatments have been shelved or buried because they weren't profitable enough. 8? Anna sounded stunned. 8 that I could find. There are probably more. Patricia showed us a list of studies, projects, all terminated despite positive results, including a universal flu vaccine that worked in trials but would have eliminated the need for annual flu shots, and billions in recurring revenue. I felt sick. I'd known Helix was corrupt, but this was beyond anything I'd imagined. We need to expose this, I said. All of it. We will, but carefully, strategically. Patricia closed her tablet. Right now, you're sympathetic figures, people who broke the law to save children. If we start throwing accusations without solid proof, we look desperate and vindictive. We need to build an airtight case. How long will that take? Jennifer asked. Months, maybe longer. Patricia's expression was grave. During which time you'll all be under investigation. You'll be harassed, threatened, possibly arrested. Your finances will be scrutinized. Your personal lives will be invaded. Are you prepared for that? I thought about my quiet life in Cedar Falls, my peaceful retirement, my Sunday dinners with Anna and her family, all of it about to be shattered. But I also thought about children I'd never meet, children who would live because of what we'd done today. Yes, I said. I'm prepared. Anna nodded. Me too. Jennifer took longer to answer, but finally she said, I'm in. Patricia smiled. Then let's get to work. Because Helix Biomedical is about to learn that some people can't be bought, can't be intimidated, and can't be silenced. My phone buzzed one last time. The unknown number. You've made a powerful enemy, Elizabeth. We'll see you in court. I deleted the message and poured us all coffee. The war had just begun, but for the first time, I thought we might actually win. 3 weeks later, I sat in a conference room in downtown Des Moines, surrounded by lawyers, facing the most important moment of my life. The room was too cold, the fluorescent lights too bright, and the walls too close. Across the table sat David Rivera and 3 other attorneys from Helix Biomedical, along with representatives from the U.S. Attorney's Office. This wasn't a trial. Not yet. This was a pre-indictment conference, a last chance for both sides to negotiate before criminal charges were formally filed. Patricia had warned me it would be brutal. She hadn't been wrong. "Let's be clear about what we're discussing," said the federal prosecutor, a woman named Catherine Winters with steel-gray hair and colder eyes. "Your client stole proprietary research worth an estimated $50 million. They distributed it without authorization, causing irreparable harm to Helix Biomedical's business interests. These are serious federal crimes carrying sentences of up to 10 years in prison. Let's also be clear," Patricia responded smoothly, "that my clients released life-saving medical technology that Helix intended to price beyond the reach of 95% of American families. Since the release, over 200 hospitals have implemented the diagnostic protocol. 17 children have already been diagnosed with conditions that would have killed them within months if left undetected. 17 children who are alive because of what my clients did. That doesn't change the law," Winters said. "It changes the context. It changes public perception. And it changes the calculation of whether prosecuting 3 medical researchers for saving children's lives is in the public interest." Patricia slid a folder across the table. "I've compiled statements from parents of the diagnosed children, from doctors who've used the technology, from medical ethicists who applaud the decision to make this research freely available." Chen picked up the folder, glanced inside, then pushed it back. "Emotional appeals won't negate theft. The research was created using Helix resources during work hours, using company equipment. It belongs to us." "Actually," Patricia said, pulling out another document, "Anna Barrett's employment contract has an interesting clause. Section 19, paragraph F. Any research conducted substantially during personal time, using primarily personal resources, remains the intellectual property of the researcher." "That clause doesn't apply here," Rivera said immediately. "Doesn't it? I have phone records showing Anna and Marcus worked on this project primarily during evenings and weekends. Credit card statements showing they purchased their own equipment. Email timestamps demonstrating the majority of development occurred outside business hours." Patricia's smile was sharp. "They may have used some company resources, but the research is theirs, which means they didn't steal anything. They released their own work." I watched Rivera's face tighten. This was new information. Information Patricia had spent 3 weeks compiling, documenting, building into an airtight defense. "That's a creative interpretation," Winters said, "but it doesn't address the breach of confidentiality agreements, the unauthorized access to company servers, the deliberate circumvention of security protocols, all of which occurred because Helix was planning to bury this research rather than risk cannibalizing their existing product lines." Patricia produced yet another document. "This is an internal memo from Helix's strategic planning department, dated 6 months ago. It explicitly discusses managing the risk of disruptive diagnostic technologies and recommends delayed release strategies to protect current revenue streams." The room went very quiet. "Where did you get that?" Rivera demanded. "From a source within Helix who was appalled by the company's priorities. A source who's prepared to testify about the systematic suppression of medical advances for financial gain." Patricia leaned forward. "You wanted to make this about theft? Let's make it about corporate malfeasance. Let's talk about how many children have died over the years because Helix prioritized profits over patients." "This is outrageous," Rivera started. "What's outrageous?" I interrupted, surprising myself with the steadiness of my voice. "Is that we're sitting here debating whether saving children's lives constitutes a crime while the real criminals sit comfortably behind corporate shields." All eyes turned to me. Patricia had advised me to stay quiet, to let her do the talking. But I was done being quiet. "I worked for Helix for 15 years, I continued. "I saw them falsify data. I saw them rush dangerous medications to market. I saw them destroy the careers of anyone who questioned their methods. And when I refused to sign off on research I knew would kill people, they fired me and made sure I'd never work again. Mrs. Barrett? Winters said, her tone softening slightly. I understand your frustration, but do you? Do you understand what it's like to watch your daughter face the same choice you did? To watch her choose conscience over career, knowing what it would cost her? I looked at Rivera. You threatened us. You raided our homes. You tried to intimidate us into silence. But we're still here, still standing, still telling the truth. The truth, Rivera said coldly, is that you're a bitter ex-employee with an axe to grind, and your daughter is a thief who's hidden behind a mother's skirts. The words were designed to wound, to provoke. They might have worked 3 weeks ago. Now they just made me smile. Is that what you think? I reached into my bag, slowly so no one would be alarmed, and pulled out a flash drive. Then you're going to hate what I have here. Patricia's eyes widened slightly. We hadn't discussed this, but she trusted me enough to stay silent. What is that? Winters asked. 22 years of documentation. Emails, memos, recordings. Everything I collected during my time at Helix. Everything I saved when they fired me. I set the flash drive on the table. I kept it all. Every piece of evidence of their corruption, their lies, their willingness to let people die for profit. I've been sitting on it for over 2 decades, too afraid to use it, too afraid they'd destroy what little I had left. Chen had gone pale. That information is protected by nothing, I interrupted. I was a senior researcher. I had access to everything, and I documented it all just in case. I pushed the flash drive toward Winters. On here, you'll find evidence of at least 3 drugs that Helix knew were dangerous but released anyway. 2 medical devices that failed safety testing but were approved through falsified data. And 5 promising treatments that were shelved because they weren't profitable enough, including a treatment for a rare pediatric cancer that could have saved dozens of children. The room was absolutely silent. You're bluffing, Rivera said, but his voice lacked conviction. Am I? Then call it. Go ahead. Force this to trial. Let's put all of this in front of a jury. Let's let the American people decide whether my daughter is a criminal or a hero. I met his eyes. Because I'm not afraid anymore. I'm 72 years old. I have nothing left to lose. But you? You have everything to lose. Your reputation, your company, your freedom when this evidence gets into the hands of federal investigators. Winters reached for the flash drive, but Rivera's hand shot out, covering it. Wait. Let's not be hasty. He looked at his colleagues, then back at Patricia. Perhaps we can reach an accommodation. There's nothing to accommodate, Patricia said flatly. Either you drop all charges and let my clients walk away, or we release everything. The flash drive contents, the internal memos, the testimony from whistleblowers inside Helix. We'll turn this into the trial of the century, and Helix Biomedical will be the defendant in the court of public opinion. You can't threaten us with, one of the other Helix lawyers started. It's not a threat. It's a statement of fact. Patricia's voice was ice. Your company has committed crimes. Real crimes. Crimes that harmed real people. My clients may have broken the law, but they did it to save lives. What's your excuse? Winters was studying the flash drive. Mrs. Barrett, if what you're saying is true, this changes everything. We'd need time to review. You have 48 hours, I said, echoing the deadline they'd given us. After that, we're holding a press conference and releasing everything. The research, the evidence, all of it. That's blackmail, Rivera said. No, I corrected. That's justice, long overdue. The meeting ended without resolution, but I could see the calculation in their eyes. The mathematics of risk versus reward. The possibility that prosecuting us would cost them far more than letting us go. As we left the building, Patricia pulled me aside. That flash drive, she said. How much of what you said was true? All of it. Every word. I'd carried it in my purse for 22 years, too afraid to use it, too stubborn to destroy it. I've been waiting for the right moment. This was it. You realize they'll try to discredit it, claim it's forged, outdated, Irrelevant. Let them try. I have originals of everything, stored in 3 different locations. They can't make this go away. I looked back at the building. For 22 years, I've been running from them. I'm done running. Patricia smiled. Good, because the war's not over yet. She was right. That night, my phone rang at 2 in the morning. Anna, her voice tight with panic. Mom, someone broke into our house. They didn't take anything. They just left a message. What kind of message? Painted on our bedroom wall. It says, drop it or lose everything. I was out of bed, pulling on clothes. Call the police, I'm coming over. Mom, maybe they're right. Maybe we should just… No. My voice was firm. We're not backing down. Not now. Not ever. When I arrived at Anna's house 20 minutes later, police were already there, photographing the red paint splashed across the white bedroom wall. Marcus stood in the doorway, his arm around Anna. Nicholas sat on the stairs, his face pale. I went to my grandson first. Are you okay? He nodded, but his hands were shaking. I heard them. I heard someone in the house. But by the time I got to Mom and Dad's room, they were gone. Did you see anything? A car. Dark-colored. Maybe black or navy. No license plate. He looked up at me. Grandma, I'm scared. I know, sweetheart. I am too. I sat beside him. But we can't let fear win. If we give up now, they'll know they can intimidate anyone into silence. But what if they come back? What if next time they do more than just paint? It was a valid fear. One I shared, but I couldn't let him see that. Then we make sure there is no next time. We end this. Tomorrow. The police finished their investigation around 4 in the morning, promising to increase patrols in the neighborhood. Anna, Marcus, and Nicholas stayed with me that night, none of us sleeping, all of us jumping at every sound. At 7 a.m., Patricia called. Helix wants to meet again, this afternoon. They're bringing their entire board of directors. That's good, right? That's capitulation. They wouldn't bring the board unless they were seriously considering surrender. Patricia paused. But Elizabeth, you need to know. I received a threat last night, too. Someone left a dead rat on my doorstep with a note saying I should choose my clients more carefully. I'm sorry, I said quietly. I never meant for you to… Don't apologize. I knew what I was getting into when I took this case. Her voice hardened. And now I'm more motivated than ever to destroy them. The afternoon meeting was in the same conference room, but the atmosphere was entirely different. The Helix board members looked tired, anxious. Rivera was there, but he wasn't leading the discussion. Instead, an older man in an expensive suit spoke for them. I'm Robert Carrington, chairman of Helix Biomedical's board. I've been apprised of the situation, and I want to resolve this matter as quickly as possible. Resolve it how? Patricia asked. We're prepared to drop all criminal charges against Mrs. Barrett, her daughter, and Ms. Patel. In exchange, you agree not to release the contents of that flash drive and cease all public discussion of Helix's business practices. That's not acceptable, I said immediately. Carrington's eyebrows rose. You'd rather face prison? I'd rather face the truth. All of it. In public. I leaned forward. But I'm willing to compromise. Here's my offer. You drop all charges. You establish a fund, $50 million, to provide free diagnostic testing to low-income families. You commit to making all future life-saving research available at cost, and you fire everyone involved in the decision to suppress treatments for financial gain. That's absurd, Rivera started. Done, Carrington said. Everyone stared at him. Done? Patricia repeated. Done. With one addition, Mrs. Barrett and her associates signed non-disclosure agreements about historical company practices. No, I said. No NDAs. The truth stays available. If you repeat your past mistakes, I'll release everything. That's the deal, I said firmly. Take it or leave it. You have 60 seconds to decide. I watched Carrington calculate, weigh, consider. 59 seconds, 58, 57. Agreed, he said. We'll have the paperwork drawn up by end of business tomorrow. And just like that, it was over. We walked out of that building into autumn sunshine, free, vindicated, victorious. Patricia hugged me, something I'd never seen her do with a client. "You did it," she said. "You actually did it." "We did it," I corrected. "All of us." My phone buzzed. A message from Nicholas. "Grandma, I love you. You're the bravest person I know." I smiled through tears and texted back, "I love you too. See you at Sunday dinner." The nightmare was ending, but I knew the real work. Making sure Helix kept their promises, protecting other whistleblowers, changing the system, was just beginning. And I was ready. 6 months later, I stood in my kitchen making Sunday dinner, the way I'd done for decades. But everything had changed, and nothing had changed. The house still smelled like roasted chicken and rosemary. The afternoon light still slanted through the windows the same way. But the woman standing in this kitchen was different from the one who'd answered a midnight phone call in October. That woman had been afraid, cautious, still carrying the shame of a 22-year-old defeat. This woman was free. "Grandma, can I help?" Nicholas appeared in the doorway, taller than he'd been 6 months ago, his voice deeper. 16 going on 17, caught between childhood and whatever came next. "You can set the table. Your mother and father will be here any minute." He moved around the dining room with the ease of someone who'd done this task 1,000 times, placing forks and knives with careful precision. I watched him work, remembering the frightened boy who'd warned me not to believe his mother. The boy who'd heard intruders in his house at 2 in the morning. "You know," he said without looking up, "I used to think adults had everything figured out. That by the time you were my parents' age, or your age, you just knew what to do. And now? Now I know that's not true. You were all just as scared as I was. You just hid it better." He finished with the silverware and met my eyes. "But you did it anyway, even though you were scared. Especially because we were scared. Fear means you understand the risks. Acting despite fear, that's courage." The doorbell rang. Anna and Marcus, right on time as always. But when I opened the door, I saw someone else standing behind them. Jennifer Patel, holding a bottle of wine and looking uncertain. "I hope it's okay that I came," she said quickly. "Anna invited me, but if it's family only—" "You are family," I said firmly, stepping aside to let them all in. "Anyone who stands up to corporate bullies and risks everything to do the right thing is family." Jennifer's eyes glistened, but she smiled. In the 6 months since our victory, she'd struggled more than any of us. She'd been fired from Helix, no surprise there, and had trouble finding new work. The research community was small, and Helix had powerful friends. But she'd persisted, and last week, she'd accepted a position at the University of Iowa's medical school. Teaching, not research, but she seemed happier than I'd seen her in years. We gathered around the table, passing dishes and falling into comfortable conversation. It felt normal, ordinary. It felt like healing. "So," Marcus said, spearing a green bean, "I saw the news this morning. The Helix Pediatric Fund has now provided free diagnostic testing to over 3,000 children. 23 more cases identified. 23 children who would have died." Anna added quietly. She'd aged in these 6 months. New lines around her eyes, silver threading through her dark hair. But she also seemed lighter somehow, as if a weight she'd carried for years had finally been lifted. 23 families who don't have to plan funerals. The research has been implemented in 47 countries now, Jennifer said. "I got an email from a doctor in Ghana who used it to diagnose a 7-year-old girl with a treatable genetic condition. She's doing well. They caught it in time." Ghana. The other side of the world. A child I would never meet. Saved by work we'd risked everything to protect. "Has anyone heard from Patricia lately?" Nicholas asked, helping himself to more chicken. "I had coffee with her on Tuesday," I said. "She's taken on 3 more whistleblower cases. Pharmaceutical companies mostly. She says what we did has inspired others to come forward." "That's good," Anna said. "Right? That's what we wanted?" "It is," I agreed. "Though I suspect it's also made Patricia a lot of powerful enemies." "She can handle it," Marcus said with confidence. "That woman is terrifying. In the best possible way." We laughed, and the conversation drifted to other topics. Nicholas's upcoming college visits, Marcus's new job at a biotech startup in Iowa City, Anna's consulting work helping small research firms navigate ethical challenges. After dinner, while the others cleared the table, Anna followed me into the kitchen. "Mom, I need to tell you something." The seriousness in her tone made me pause, dish towel in hand. "What is it?" "I got a call yesterday, from a reporter at 60 Minutes. They want to do a piece about what happened, about us, about Helix, about the pediatric diagnostic research." She twisted her hands together. "They want to interview all of us. You, me, Marcus, Jennifer, even Nicholas." "What did you tell them?" "That I needed to think about it. That I needed to talk to you first." She looked at me with those serious eyes that had never quite learned how to hide her feelings. "I know we agreed to move forward, to put this behind us. But this would bring it all back up again. The threats, the fear, the publicity. And I'm not sure I want that. I'm not sure I want Nicholas exposed to that." I dried my hands slowly, considering. 6 months ago, I would have jumped at the opportunity, would have seen it as validation, as a chance to make sure the truth was told. Now I understood that the truth had already been told. The research was public. The fund was established. Children were being saved. What more validation did we need? "What do you want to do?" I asked. "I don't know. Part of me thinks we should. That we owe it to everyone who's fighting similar battles to show them it can be done. But another part of me just wants to live quietly, to rebuild our lives without cameras and reporters." She laughed shakily. "I guess I'm asking for your permission, or your wisdom, or something." "You don't need my permission. You're a 46-year-old woman who saved thousands of lives. You can make your own decisions." I put my hand on her shoulder. "But if you want my opinion, I think you should do what feels right for you and your family, not what feels noble or brave or what you think you should do. Just what feels right. And if I say no, if I decide I don't want to be a public figure, don't want to be the face of medical whistleblowing, then you say no. You've already done the hard work. You've already made the sacrifice. You don't owe the world anything more." She hugged me, sudden and tight. "Thank you." "For what?" "For showing me that it's okay to be afraid, that it's okay to not have all the answers, that it's okay to just be." After they all left, Anna and Marcus and Nicholas piling into one car, Jennifer in hers, promises to do this again next week, I stood on my porch and watched the sun set over Cedar Falls. The October air was crisp with the promise of winter, leaves swirling in small tornadoes of gold and red. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. For a moment, my heart clenched, old fear, old habits. But when I opened it, I smiled. "Mrs. Barrett, this is Dr. Amelia Rivera from Stanford Medical Center. I'm using the diagnostic protocol you helped make public. Today we identified a rare metabolic disorder in a 3-year-old boy. We caught it early enough to treat. His mother wanted me to thank you. She says you saved her son's life. I thought you should know." I saved the message, added it to a folder on my phone where I kept others like it. Dozens now, from doctors and parents and researchers around the world. Each one a reminder of why we'd done what we'd done. Each one a life saved. I went back inside, poured myself a glass of wine, and sat at the kitchen table with my laptop. The old flash drive sat beside it, the one I'd carried for 22 years, the one that had finally served its purpose. I'd been thinking about it lately, about all that evidence, all those crimes documented but never fully revealed. We'd used it as leverage, but we'd never released it, had never exposed the full scope of Helix's corruption. Patricia had advised against it. "You won," she'd said. "Don't give them a reason to retaliate. Don't poke the bear." Good advice, safe advice. But I was 73 years old now. I'd already lived longer than my mother, longer than my husband. I'd raised a daughter, watched a grandson grow, and changed the world in a small but significant way. What did I have to be safe for? I plugged the flash drive into my laptop and began organizing the files. 22 years of corruption, documented and dated and ready to be understood. 3 drugs that killed people. 2 devices that failed safety standards. 5 treatments that could have saved lives but were shelved for profit. I wasn't going to give it to reporters. Wasn't going to make a spectacle of it. I was going to send it to federal prosecutors, to the FDA, to medical oversight boards. Let them investigate properly, build cases, hold people accountable through the legal system. Let the truth work slowly and surely, the way justice should. It took me 3 hours to organize everything, to write cover letters explaining the context, to encrypt it properly and send it through secure channels. When I finally closed my laptop, it was after midnight. I felt lighter, freer, as if I'd finally set down a burden I'd carried so long I'd forgotten it was there. My phone buzzed again. Not a text this time. A call. From Anna. "Mom, I'm sorry to call so late. I just wanted to tell you. I said yes to 60 Minutes. We're going to do it. All of us." "That's wonderful, honey. Nicholas said something after we got home. He said he wanted other kids to know that you don't have to be loud or aggressive to be brave. That sometimes the bravest thing is just standing up for what's right, even when you're scared." She paused. "He wanted people to know what you did. How you did it." I felt tears prick my eyes. "When's the interview?" "Next month. They want to come to Cedar Falls, film in your house if that's okay. Show where it all started." "It's more than okay. It's perfect." After we hung up, I walked through my house. My father's house, really. Built during the Depression. Survived by faith and stubbornness and the knowledge that good things take time. The floors creaked in familiar places. The pipes knocked when the heat came on. The windows rattled slightly in the wind. It was old. Imperfect. Showing its age. Just like me. But it was still standing. Still solid. Still home. I thought about the woman I'd been 6 months ago. Afraid. Ashamed. Stuck in the past. I thought about the midnight phone call that had changed everything. About my grandson's whispered warning. About the moment I'd decided to stop running. People think courage is fearlessness. They think wisdom comes with age automatically. That surviving 73 years makes you wise by default. But I'd learned something different. I'd learned that courage is acting despite fear. That wisdom isn't about knowing all the answers. It's about asking the right questions. It's about recognizing when the time for caution has passed and the time for action has arrived. I'd learned that age isn't a disadvantage. It's a weapon. Because when you've lived long enough, you understand that reputation and career and all the things young people fear losing are ultimately just things. And things can always be replaced. But principles? Conscience? The ability to look at yourself in the mirror and know you did the right thing? Those are irreplaceable. I turned off the lights and headed upstairs to bed. Tomorrow I'd call Patricia. Tell her about the files I'd sent to federal investigators. She'd be annoyed. She always preferred to control the timing of these things. But she'd understand. Tomorrow I'd also call Jennifer, check on how her first week of teaching had gone. And Nicholas, to hear about his chemistry test. And Marcus, just to say hello. Tomorrow, I'd keep living the quiet life I'd built in Cedar Falls, making Sunday dinners and tending my garden and reading books in the afternoon sun. But I'd be living it as a woman who'd stood up to a billion-dollar corporation and won, who'd saved thousands of lives, who'd proven that intelligence and patience and moral clarity could defeat money and power and threats, who'd shown her daughter and grandson that doing the right thing, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard, is always worth it. As I drifted off to sleep, I smiled. Let them come with their cameras and their questions. Let them tell the world about an old woman in Iowa who refused to be silent. Let them learn that 73 years of living teaches you exactly one thing, that in the end, the only thing that matters is whether you had the courage to stand up when it counted. I'd stood up. And I'd stand up again if I had to, because that's what wisdom looks like. Not fearlessness, but the willingness to be afraid and act anyway. Not perfection, but the commitment to try. Not youth and strength, but experience and conviction. I'd spent 22 years being afraid of Helix Biomedical, 22 years regretting that I hadn't fought harder, that I'd let them silence me. Never again. Whatever came next. More investigations, more battles, more threats. I was ready. Because I'd learned the most important lesson of my 73 years. That lived intelligence and wisdom don't just surpass youth and arrogance, they triumph over them. Every single time. Now tell me, what would you have done if you were in my place? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to check out the video on your screen right now. I'm sure it will surprise you.